Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview podcast. Good morning. This is Greg Valoria, aka Social Greg, on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today, I'm pleased to talk with An Lee, founder of DermaTec LLC. It's a startup creating socially conscious products and located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, anyway, good morning, An, and thanks for joining us here on Nerd Stalker Live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. No problem. We've been kind of talking offline, trying to set up the interview. And actually, Julia, another colleague of yours, got me kind of interested in Albuquerque startups. And we're going to talk a little bit about that now in just a few seconds. But anyway, tell us a little about what motivated you to create a socially conscious company.
Well, actually, socially conscious really came about after the fact, right? It was one of those things that you realize this company wasn't just going to be another company. It was going to be a company that has a social purpose behind that. My colleague and I actually, we were finishing up college, and we wanted to. We were fascinated with sensors, right? We wanted to start a company that built sensors for something. Alcohol was easier to detect than other materials, so a sensor company that would detect alcohol. We realized this is going to be not just a biotech company because folks were just asking, is this FDA approved? Is this how much and all these things? And we're like, man, that's not the process we want to go down. We just don't want that. So we realized, like, what if we capture the market that actually exists today and not have to go through this for the next 5 years, 10 years, who knows, to develop a medical device. We don't want to call it that. And so the social market really addresses the problems in the community. The biosensor medical device market detects basically things that are in the medical field. And let's say you're already drunk and you're detecting and you're trying to arrest folks. I mean, that's one model, but that's not the model we necessarily want to go down. We think that solving the problem from the get-go, encouraging people to be socially responsible and just have fun with our product is probably the way to go.
I see. Now, a lot of companies these days are putting a message of social consciousness into their branding, to try to attract a lot of the people who are socially conscious these days, especially with the political arena. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and I was just curious. So like, when you're thinking about your startup, I mean, how are you making it socially conscious besides just creating the product that's socially conscious? I mean, is there something that in your mission and vision that you say, okay, anyone I hire, anyone I want to work with in this company has to have these elements, and all that type of stuff, when you're starting a company?
Right. I mean, even investors, sometimes we've talked to a few folks, and we're really picky to who we work with. If we work with an investor who is really, really basically honed in on this medical device and just like, when are you going to take this to FDA? That's not the path we want to go down. That's our phase 2, right? So we, like you said, the people we work with, we're all fascinated about this idea. Like, we have 5 team members right now. We've been growing, slowly but steadily, and everybody's interested in this idea. And it's not just, hey, let's get this medical, or let's get this device out there in the people's hands. That's just not. I mean, like you said, even what's happening in the political arena. Yeah, sure, it's great to have a company that basically does all these things and people love it, but ours is kind of like, nobody talks about drunk driving in the political arena, but it's a huge issue in our community and communities across the globe. And basically our mission is, if we solve problems and we save one life, that, you know, that that matters, and that's our job is essentially done. Although we want to build a company, we want to save not just one life but many lives. So
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm at with this company. Is not, it's just basically working with people who cares, even investors, and having a mission, so that a mission statement, so that it's not just creating any product out there, because then we won't differentiate ourselves from other folks.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, no, that's wonderful. You kind of alluded to building socially conscious products earlier, and you talked about the first one coming out. Can you talk a little bit about uh, maybe the first product that you guys are targeting to build this socially conscious company?
Absolutely. So the first product is a patch that can detect if there is alcohol in your sweat. And the patch changes color. We're still figuring out which way to go with the technology, either to use the patent that we have, or the patent pending the pending patent that we have, or just to work with another institution. But that's where we're at right now. We want to detect like kind of like a go no go thing, right? Whether or not someone's had alcohol and has been drinking alcohol. And the reason for that is because this is basically telling people if they've been drinking from the get-go. This is not just afterwards. And we have had a lot of folks asking us this. So why would you want to detect if you have alcohol, right? Like, you know, you're drinking. What's the big deal? Well, and that's a huge question. But we think that question refers to folks who are rational, right? And what my argument is, many times we find out that our market loves what we're doing. Like they said, if you have a patch that actually detects alcohol, we'll use it. It doesn't matter if I know or I don't know or I care. I love just the fact that you're making that. I'm going to use it. And then we come afterwards and we say, well, because you're already using it, we can encourage you to be that designated driver. We can encourage you and make this more interesting and bring the hero out of you. And that's where we're at.
Wow, yeah, I could see that. It's interesting. You go out with a group of guys. Let's say we're partying,
Yeah.
and you put a patch on. I don't know. You put something visibly patched. We're all looking at each other, and we look at the guy that has a different color patch. Okay, you're the designated driver, man. You're
Right.
gonna take us home. So that's how I envision it. I mean, I guess there's a many use cases for this type of thing, is what you're saying. But really, what you're saying is that you want to be preemptive on this
Absolutely.
drinking
Yeah.
thing, right?
I think you got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and I think, you know, detection methods like you're saying have to be developed currently to get you to where you need to be. How far out do you think you're going to be to finally, hopefully, releasing this product to the market?
We have a working prototype. We are currently raising a little bit of money to get that prototype to its finality. So I would say 9 months to 12 months, we'll be able to. But you know, in the startup world, 9 months to 12 months could mean a little bit more than that. So,
Yeah.
but that's where we're at. We think that nine to 12 months is it's certainly doable.
Now for launch, are you guys considering things like crowdfunding, things like that could help you launch this instead of going after direct investment? Or how are you thinking as a startup entrepreneur of getting this product out to market, and how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been talking to the National Institutes of Health guys, and we're interested in innovation funds, and that's non-equity investments.
Hmm.
But you know, applying for grants is a slow process, and I have worked with folks who have applied for grants. So it's not something that you want to depend on within the next 9 months, right? It's something that down the line, maybe you've got phase 2 product and you want to put more money into that. I think certainly that's doable. So that's one answer. That's part of an answer. The other answer is we are running a Kickstarter campaign. probably within the next couple of months. And the campaign is going to help us to push the product to basically the next level. And I think it's going to cover pretty much all the costs if we can do it right. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a wonderful idea. A lot of the startups I talk to, especially on our Kickstarter unboxed segments, they're using it for test marketing. You know, it's pretty obvious. You know, even if they don't hit their goal, which obviously they'd love to hit their goal, but even if they don't hit their goal, they find out some of the, I guess, you know, weaknesses in their product strategy, weaknesses in the product offering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get a lot of feedback from crowdfunding that you normally wouldn't get unless you went out and test marketed. But test marketing means that you have to build a prototype and build a few samples. So this kind of gives you an edge ahead of time. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, you know, Julia Jones, I met on Twitter, and she was talking. You know, I saw this ABQ hashtag, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And apparently, she was telling me through Twitter that this ABQ startup ecosystem is starting to grow there. Okay, let's talk more about that now. You know,
Absolutely.
about the ecosystem you're in New Mexico, Albuquerque, and you know, what's startup life there?
Well, the cost of living is definitely cheap. It's doable, right? So if you, and here's, I guess, my point, my argument for this. If an investor is going to give you some cash and some of that's going to go into your cost of living, it would be nice to know that you're living in a very, very affordable location. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, I mean, it goes in line with the first thing, right? Office space is actually not as expensive. You can get an office, a very decent one here for $300 more or less a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, you may not need an office, but if you do for, other purposes, then it's cheap. And also the environment is supportive in the sense that if I went to like where you're at and I say, hey, I've got this idea, I'm pitching, it's actually harder to get your voice loud enough, right? That doesn't mean that your product is any less valid. I think that it would be a bad excuse to say that I'm not successful because I'm in a different location. However, I think that my voice would be louder in a situation where people are just like celebrating basically startup founders much quicker, because it's kind of like a smaller environment compared to you guys. And
Yeah.
it's growing
Yeah.
too.
No,
And so
I like
the fact that it's growing is good because people are noticing. But the fact that it's not as big is also good because people are noticing, right? And that's my take on it. And there's so many people to support you over here, and that gives you that kind of juice to keep going. Like the results don't change. Like that's my take, and I maybe Julia has a different take, but I think the results don't change. Like if you're in this location or that location, but going home at night, realizing that you have support actually helps you to keep going the next day. And I think that's to me, that's important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, talk a little bit about co-working spaces, accelerator programs, incubators in Albuquerque. What does that infrastructure look like?
Absolutely. So we have the Bioscience Center, which is an incubator for biotech companies. Again, we found out that we probably won't be suitable for that just because we're not a biotech company. However, it wouldn't hurt because there's a lot of companies in there that we can work with. And let's say this, you're a patent lawyer. And I'm just giving you an example, a patent attorney, right? You're starting out, you're on your own. Maybe going into the Bioscience Center would be great because every other person down the hall probably will need your service. I would argue 100 people down the hall need your service. So now you can not only go in there, get the support you need, but get the clients that you need. Um, and so that's an important thing. And the other thing is we have Fat Pipe. Fat Pipe is basically um, this co-working space. So it's not an incubator. In my opinion, it's a co-working space. You can see cubicles. Just imagine like open cubicles, and you can rent space there, right? There's closed office, there's desks, and you can rent space there. It has probably the fastest internet in town. Um, I mean, so it's really for the the technology companies that go in and create these online websites and whatnot. So that there's also that, and every Wednesday they host this 1 million cups event, and I think you already know what that is. It's a national brand, like they do it in every state, right? So we host
Right.
that at the Fat Pipe, um, and we also have I, I think I think we're gonna have another one. I'm not sure what the name is, but I think it's coming out. So essentially, you're gonna have quite a few incubators. You're gonna have folks like you and me who go in, and and you're more established, so you probably want to stay home in your own office. But for us, we want to actually go out there and um, get the word out there as well. But you know what I mean. So
No,
that's
no,
yeah, that's
it's
the
great. No,
environment.
no, no. I mean, you have UNM, right? So I think you have a major. I think it's a well recognized uh, um, university, right? And then obviously Sandia and and all that stuff is around
Yeah.
you as well. But yeah, one of my good friends actually got his PhD at UNM. So he was telling me
Okay.
about how affordable it was. Now, from a business standpoint, and in the state of New Mexico, what incentives are you guys getting from the state to
Right.
promote your business?
Okay. Well, I'm not a big incentives. I'm not. I don't understand incentives that much.
Yeah.
I haven't researched it, but we have what's called the J tip, right? And I
Mm.
think that offers you the ability to hire interns and workers, and actually they'll subsidize, I think, half of the I think half of your intern.
Wow.
And that's huge. I worked with a lady before. Her name was Catherine, and she got me an internship a while back. And the guy that was hiring me only paid half of it, right? Because the other half came from somewhere. And back then, I didn't care where it came from. I just knew that, you know, I got an internship. Um, and so we have programs like that. We have, um, and I think New Mexico, I does have, the business taxes not low, but we do have tax incentives. So at the end of the day, if you know how to utilize tax incentives, you're going to be able to get by all right. It's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think
Yeah.
California is very expensive to build products, but I think other states, what they're doing is they're trying to make sure that they bring industry and people into the states. So they're trying to, incentivize companies to uh, put manufacturing into their state, put all those other things that, people, obviously you need people to build an industry, bring people into the state and stuff like that. Well, you guys also, I remember Startup Weekend was in Albuquerque. I don't know if it is on a regular basis, but Startup Weekend, I know, I noticed that there was a startup weekend in Albuquerque, and a couple of other things like that. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty good infrastructure. Now, what I got a curious for you before we sign off here. What were you doing prior to this startup? Were you working in a typical company, and you
Oh my
decided to just
gosh.
go off on your own?
Yeah. Well, actually, I was a graduate student. I was considering, I was doing this PhD program, and I realized and I actually wasn't planning to go full blast with the startup until recently. I wanted to get a full-time job because I was growing up, and I realized, you know what, it's not it's really, I have a master's. I want to actually find an engineering job somewhere, right? And after I kind of walked away from that project, I realized, hey, you know what? I have friends here. I have friends over in California. We're all doing this thing, and we're fascinated about this company. Let's give it a try. Let's give it everything I've got. And it's only been 2 to 3 months, I think, and we've made a lot of progress. So now I realize, like, maybe I should just go full blast with this.
Mm. No, I think that's pretty typical. Or common. Your product's not common, but I think the nature of entering into entrepreneurship or startup world is very common. What you said. I mean, it's taking that step over the line that you fear, right? Taking that one step every day over that line that you fear and moving forward with it. I mean, nothing's going to be easy, but work isn't easy either. So, I agree with you. You might as well, if you're gonna do something, why not try building a company, and maybe it'll have some longevity to it. So you never know.
You can get a job later, right?
Yeah. You'll be hireable in other ways. So, well, anyway, I'm going to close off this interview, and I appreciate your time to talk about not only your company, but also the Albuquerque startup environment. How can people get a hold of you and learn more about what you're doing at DermaTec?
Well, absolutely. So right now, if you want to get a hold of me, my Twitter handle is at andung _Lee. So ANHDUNG _LE. Our company website is being revamped. It is derma-tech.com. So DERMA-TEC.com. And you can get a hold of me or us either way.
Okay, sounds good. Anyway, thank you again, and thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll close off it, and thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Valoria, aka Social Greg, on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Hey, have a great weekend and have a great Friday.
Take care of yourself.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.